Good afternoon to the people in this part of the world, and good morning to the others across the Atlantic and beyond. And welcome to our 14th mentoring talk. Besides this being the 14th edition of our lectureship, this is also our second ever virtual mentoring talk conducted via WebEx. While it is true that our virtual meeting is a reflection of the uncertainty and hardships caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, we must remember that necessity is oftentimes the mother of invention. Our guest speaker today, Professor Prashant Kamat from the University of Notre Dame, would certainly attest to this statement. Professor Kamat is a distinguished professor of chemistry as well as a foremost researcher and scholarly fellow in a multitude of scientific societies. He is the editor-in-chief of the prestigious journal ACS Energy Letters. Professor Kamat has published more than 450 scientific papers that have been well recognized by the scientific community. He has more than 92,000 citations with an H index of 156. Professor Kamat has been featured as one of the most cited researchers each year from 2014 until 2020. The principal research interest of Professor Kamat is nanotechnology and light energy conversion. Although our guest speaker's current fame and prestige precede him, his life was not always filled with such grandeur. Professor Kamat grew up in Biniga, India, where he explored and played amongst the verdant nature with the other village children. Although some may see Professor Kamat's rural upbringing as a disadvantage, he himself is very thankful for his rustic childhood. In his own words, and I quote, "I was born in this West Coast village, which is nestled between the sandy beach and green mountains with my brother and friends. Growing up with no distraction from TV or any other form of electronic entertainment, we were forced to spend time outdoors. This lack of toys was also responsible for our creativity as we designed our own games to play. I consequently developed an early appreciation of the great effort and persistence any skilled craftsman must display to become an expert in their work. Because I would also spend time at the various local vendors near our home, I learned how to sew, to shelf books, and to pack groceries. I also had ample time at my disposal to explore nature and its fascinating colors. Even today, I wonder whether these childhood opportunities were instrumental in seeding my interest in light-induced chemical processes." End of quote. I believe it is clear now why Professor Kamat is an excellent candidate to provide a mentoring talk to us all. It is not in spite of, but rather due to his unconventional and humble formative years that he has aspired to lofty heights in the world of material science. Much like how a solar cell converts the light of our sun into electrical energy that powers our world, Professor Kamat has shown that the trials and tribulations of our life can be transformative into the inspiration of our success. Let us then give the floor to our esteemed guest so we may learn the secret too, in his own words, thinking of simple ways to address complex issues. Professor Kamat, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Okay. Good afternoon and good morning, or in the virtual world, there is no morning or evening. It is all good day. Okay. First of all, let me thank Bilal and also all the other organizers who put tremendous effort in making these mentorship talks And in fact, I listened to the last talk by Professor Jen Hemstra, and it was excellent. You learn from the scientists what makes them successful, but at the same time, their views are different. What they make is a successful person comes from various different reasons. So my point to you is, it doesn't matter. There are no two people are exactly alike or they see the same experience. What you need to do is making the best from your experience and how it can lay the foundation for career uh, and yeah, and beyond. It's all up to us how to do it. And having said that, even the competition is becoming more fearful around the world. Previously, a lot of countries didn't have the opportunity. So now, most of these developing countries or other countries in Asia, Europe, and Africa, and again in South America, they have same playing ground as others. Everyone uses computers. Everyone uses communication to present their data. So the playing field has become flat rather than it used to be peak. Only selected countries used to do it. So this is a great opportunity for everyone to learn how to compete. So today, when he asked me to give a talk, and I gave the title PhD and Beyond. So most of my focus will be on PhD research, but you should take it such that PhD is you can replace with any other degree. Majority of these ones will still be valid. So don't think that okay, this is for only PhDs and I don't have to worry about. So, for example, developing communication skills. It is important in every profession. So this is you take this as an example and doing it. So let's start this one. And I also put a disclaimer saying that what I'm telling you is not written in stone. Practices and approaches vary, so you have to exercise your own judgment, saying what is valid for you and what is not. Okay, so let's. Okay, I think we move the slide. Okay, so when Bilal asked me to share some of the things, and he already mentioned some of my experience from childhood. And I always think the biggest blessing I had was there was no iPhones, no TVs. Even listening to radio is sort of a treat in those days. Again, this is the top left is where an aerial view of my hometown, and it's somewhere here is our house. And what we did was uh, I was born in the house, not in a hospital, and then grew up in a small town. And we still in the village had paved, unpaved roads to walk around, a lot of greenery around. So I was studied there, and then after completing my PhD in Mumbai, I just flew to Boston to do my postdoctoral research. That was my first experience. In fact, it was my first plane flight at that time to come to Boston, and I was totally lost when I landed because luckily I had a host family that took care of me and brought me, but coming to the interacting with the people, how to stand out, how to talk, how to communicate. Everything was a learning experience. Uh, and but again, it's a human being, and human thing is you come to the level what you want to do. Uh, and then I completed the postdoc. I did a second postdoc in Austin, Texas, with Mary and Fox, and then. from there, in 1983, I moved to Notre Dame, and this is near Chicago. And the destiny is such, I'm still here, continuing my research and those things. There is a in JPC, and I wrote my autobiographical notes. So if anybody is more interested, take these notes and then see what all took it. And in research, we can be successful only if we have uh, good students and good visiting scholars, and they make us look good. So I always say that a good student makes professor look good. But again, it is a training ground for students. Many of our students have succeeded in either taking national labs or academic positions. I would say 50-50, 50% goes to academics, 50% goes to industries or becoming consultants. And we also have a variety of visiting scientists from all over the world. They have spent significant time here and contributed to the program. So whatever you see as a successful thing, it is not because of me. It is because of these students and collaborators who make me look good. So that is one thing, and so I give credit wherever it is due. And when the students walk in, I always tell that in academics, it is always a learning experience. There is not a stage in your career you can say, I know everything. So I tell the students that we learn together. You teach me something, I will teach you something that you don't know. Together, we can learn much more than what we know. So if somebody comes in and asks me a question, if I don't know, I'm not hesitant to say, I don't know this thing. Let's go and find out. So we find out sometime. At some time, we take the help of other colleagues who may have know that field better. So that leads to more interactions and collaboration. In my lab, when working, there is nothing secret. Everything is open. I always say that things should be very open. In fact, very early on, we posted synthesis of nanomaterials. Again, this is not updated. With everything, how to make them, because I wanted them to uh, uh, use and make it. So a lot of people used it and they communicated. It was very nice of you to put these things exactly, because you see sometimes in the papers, people don't give you all the recipe because they don't want you to give you the full details. So this is very important in communicating is be frank with your students and tell them what your expectations are. And I never tell anybody what time to come, what time to go, but it is up to them because it's an opportunity given. And that opportunity is in the next slide, is telling you, especially when you go to any higher education, like a graduate school, business school, law school, medical school, that is an opportunity to prepare yourself for the next level. And especially in the graduate student thing, people say that first, and this is a chronicle of higher education article. So if you just type it in the Google, you will be able to read this article. And they say that not many professions provide this phase of directed reading, mentorship, and fostering for the creative intellectual. So you have to relish it, but not feel comfortable. You know, I got into graduate school, and if you are comfortable, then the competition, it doesn't stay that way. So you have to have a goal, how to finish, and what to do in these things. So anytime somebody comes to my lab to do a PhD, I always ask them to think about themselves. First of all, they have to know, why do I want to join PhD? Again, you can take out PhD and put any other higher degree program, and same thing works. You have to answer to yourself, not to somebody else. They do not need to. I said, please don't answer me these questions. This is for you to uh, prepare yourself. So keep these two questions in your mind, and then what will I do after PhD? In the same way, again, you can take out that PhD degree and put any degree. You have to have a sort of a overarching goal. And I was listening to Jen Himstra's talk, and she said a lot of time people say you have to have a passion. But her take was you can develop a passion. So that is true. Even if you don't have it, once you join this kind of a higher education program, develop a passion for it, work hard for it. So that is the kind of a thing. So you can forget everything what I say today, but remember these two questions. Why do I want to join that XYZ program, or in this case, the PhD program? And then the next one is, what will I do after spending 3, 4, 5 years in that program? So that one, you have to be prepared, and this one. So this is it looks very simple question, but there is a lot more into it. Okay, so this today my talk, I got three parts. One is telling you what is PhD research and what it takes to be very successful in the next 4 to 6 years. Uh, then how to develop communication skills. In particular, I will focus on writing a papers, research papers. In any profession, communication skills is the most important thing. And typically, if you are in Asian countries, the focus is on science and math. You know, people go to these private tuition classes. By the way, I never went to any tuition classes because there is no need. Today, because of the competition, everybody is taking these ones, and there were also no entrance exam for anything. You can just take your whatever grade scores, and then you got into admission to the next level. Today there is a entrance exam. You have to get prepared for it. So there is more stress on a lot of these people. But one of the things that often ignores is the communication skills. So in any of these entrance exams, there is no effort on communication skills. So this is something you need in any professional setting. How to speak, how to present, how to write, how to get your ideas across. If you don't have communication skills, and you may be the best possible scientist or a professional, you will not be able to succeed. So this is very important aspect. And then once you then you need to pursue your career. Okay, let's start with the PhD. So typically in a PhD program, I'm talking to you from an US perspective, which is true in most other countries, is you apply and you get admitted, and then they will say that, okay, now you have to select your research advisor, and you go and talk to different people. And this is very important. What kind of a research topic and advisor you want to select? Because this will brand you. If you are doing organic chemistry, you'll be called as an organic chemist. If you are doing physical chemistry, you'll be a physical chemist. And then in that one, there is a subdiscipline. Do you want to be a spectroscopist? Do you want to be an electrochemist? Do you want to be a material scientist? So again, the topic you decide and topic with whom you are going to work, that is going to, I call it as a branding, in the sense that that's what you will be after 4 or 5 years. So it's a very important venue selection. So a lot of times the students join because my friend joined that group, that professor is cool, he doesn't ask anything, we have many parties. That's not should be your criteria. You have to select from your own interest and what you want to do. What are the scientific issues that needs to be tackled? So when you join it, is this a very emerging field, or it is something that is no one cares? So you have to decide on the topic. You also have to judge your strength and weakness early on and prepare yourself for the long journey. Sometimes, you are very good in math and computation, so probably your theoretical chemistry is good. Sometimes you like more an artist. You like to mix things and try to make things happen. So then you are maybe an experimental chemist. So you have to see your strength and where you fit in better. And finally, challenge yourself and prepare to tackle scientific problems. And in this journey, we always say think outside the box, because most of the time, people are very comfortable in doing what the entire research group is doing. So sometimes you have to step outside that kind of a box and start thinking. And here is a cartoon. Uh, this is a cartoon. It's for only cat. You cannot think outside the box. They always have to think outside the box. Okay, so another interesting fact. This week is a Nobel laureate week. Yesterday there was a chemistry. Two women scientists for CRISPR was awarded, and before that physics. But this is an article that appeared in Washington Post. A very nice article, and they took out, analyzed about 220 people, classical composers, Nobel Prize winning authors, and they said that the credit comes, or the study and is producer most important work. You get recognized when you are young. You see, I am in this group. I'm not making anything major contributions, but these are the age where you make the best contribution. So this is where your strength is. So you need to be challenged yourself in thinking when you're early ages. So please always think that this is the prime age to think something different, make it transformative ideas, bring into practice. So again, the reward comes later on in your life if you do the right thing. Okay, so now you start, join a research group, and what you do is now you have to start your research. You always start with some simple experiments. Doesn't matter. Try to repeat somebody's experiments or get a feel for the whole lab and also research. It may be just a repetition, so it doesn't matter. Brave yourself, do some quick tests to check the feasibility. Sometimes you think, okay, whether my sample emits, how does it absorb, what photo current, from my point of view, our lab. After this quality test, plan some more experiments. Also remember to carry blank control experiments. Then you have to learn how to plot or tabulate the data, repeat experiments, discuss with colleagues. One of the famous things is you can trust, but also need to verify every interesting observation. So a lot of times you make these assumptions, but they need to be verified. So having said that, there is a article in cases analysis. It's called the burden of disproof. So in research, it is not only you have to prove, but also you have to rule out all other possibilities. And here it is. One of the things is in Einstein's one, everything should be as simple as possible. Simple explanations always come out better. Even when you write a reaction mechanism, if you have a 10-step mechanism versus you can explain in 2 steps, guess which one is going to win, right? So when you believe you have an important scientific fact and are feverishly curious to publish it, and these are all quotes from this article, and proclaim your discovery after having exhausted all contrary hypotheses. Unfortunately, people want to rush today. They don't check the hypothesis. As a result, sometimes it is an artifact, and then they don't see what is happening in this one. And again, this is very important in research, is to check the blanks and rule out any other hypothesis that exists. Another important thing, again, this is in research and also in real life. Don't expect somebody else to criticize you. You are your own best critic. Okay? Just like when you look into your mirror, you criticize yourself. Do I look okay today? My hair look grown too much, or do I need a haircut? Or my face looks like a sleepy person, or I am awake? So did I my dress rightly? So just like you criticize yourself looking at a mirror, you also have to look at your research when you are doing it. And one of the things I call it is W's. Uh, why I'm doing this actually. I always tell the students, if you don't know why you are doing that experiment, just don't do it. Get it, discuss with me, discuss with others. What is the need for that experiment? Because sometimes I tell students, okay, why don't you go and try measure this property? And just because I said it, don't do it. You need to understand what is the purpose of that thing. And then you have to see whether it's the right approach, because there's same experiments can be done in a different ways. Whether the experiment conducted without any interruption, what are the expected results? Do the results follow the expected trend? So again, I see an unusual phenomenon, and I can guarantee you that when something goes wrong and you try to ask questions, it can lead to a totally new phenomena or new, and that is the fun of research, is to watch for unusual behaviors. And most of the great discoveries are accidents. Okay. For example, you might have known that notepad where you sticky notes, where the paper has a small sticky top, and then you always write it and stick it. That was an accidental discovery. They wanted to make a polymer that will stick very hard, but it turned out that the polymer became less sticky. Then they got the great idea that, okay, why can't we just put it in the back of the paper so that people can just write it and stick it temporarily wherever they want. So sometimes you never know where this can lead to. And there are many such examples, both in research and in my lab alone. Most of the new research were done based on undergraduates working in my lab. They do the most stupidest thing because they don't know, they don't have a bias. They're like a blank paper, right? And then they come back with this observation. I said, wait a minute, why did it happen this way, right? So you try to think more and then you do it, and voila, it takes us to a totally new direction. So it's a very interesting observation is keep your things open and look for anything. So be curious and not hesitate to try out a new idea or approach. Data analysis. Again, there is a various ways of data analysis, and this is where most comes. I will not spend time on this. Anytime when you are presenting, it has to be in a presentable way, doing it in this way. And we call it as an artifact, right? Make sure that you are not focusing on the artifact of this rhino, like he's seeing this is in front of his eyes, a big stout, and then he's putting in everyone. So you have to be careful what you see and what is real and what is not. Another one I suggest everyone is brainstorming session within your group or within your friends, whatever it is. At least once a year, get together and start thinking something other than what you have been doing. And so that brings us some new ideas. And again, it's a thinking, and we call it again thinking outside the box. Some useful tips if you are succeeding in how to succeed in graduate research. You have to be selfish. Selfish in the sense that you have to see your own interest. Okay, you are working for your degree program and not working for anybody else. So if you don't take interest in your PhD, nobody else will. Don't expect, because that's a difference between when you are doing in the schools and the graduate schools. And again, even last time, it's not that working hard and hard and hard, but you need to have fun. Remember, put at least minimum research hours in the lab during weekdays. Enjoy the weekends. You don't have to do it, but if you are smart enough and putting your efforts, you can do it. Um, Again, spend time on the internet doesn't count as a research hours. If you are looking for emails and Facebook or Twitter or something like that, that doesn't count as one. So you need to take into consideration. You need to keep a good record keeping all the things that you do. Depending on the field, it will require entering data in bound notebook with sequential number pages, etc. So again, it's a recording is good. Okay, so that's about how to do research or how to be very open in terms of doing your professional degree. And then what comes is, give me 1 minute. Professional degree, communication. In research, when you are doing research papers are one of the gateways and to communicate. So what is a scientific publication? This is from a National Academy Press. It says the object is to extend human knowledge beyond what is already known. And it enters in a fashion when other people can judge your peers. And in 2004, Professor Whiteside said a paper is an organized description of hypotheses, data, and conclusions. And he also said that if the research does not generate papers, it might just as well not have been done. But today it is 2020. It's not only you have to publish it, but you want to draw the attention of other researchers so they can discuss your work in the form of citation. So if your paper does not generate citations, it might just as well not have been done. And we call it as a evolution of academia. In this case, before 1990, if you publish it, people considered you are good, you are productive, and successful. Then came out what they call publish or perish. Then came into about 10 years back, publish in high impact journals, or you are not going to survive. Now it is like publish frequently in high impact journals and you may not perish. So this is the way that competition has grown, and it is important for you to make sure that you are reaching there. So what is publishable? So journal likes to publish original and significant findings. It has to be well organized and well written and concise and yet complete. So they're doing it. So if you are writing a manuscript, you ask the question, when I'm ready to write a manuscript. Again, this could be in your project, you are doing it, that you want to do it. Do my data tell a story? Does my project tell a story? Are there important pieces of important information? Do the results I achieved move the state of the knowledge for the field forward? Because that's what you need if you are doing this kind of field forward. Relevant to others. Does anybody will care if I publish this work? So that is the one. And the most importantly, you have to write it in a way such that the majority of the people, it's not only in your field, but also in other ones, they can do it. When you start writing your manuscript or a project, right? So it feels like this. So in Lebanon, it may not be much snow, but in the Midwest, in the winter time, we get a lot of snow. And sometimes it's like this person, he's trying to shovel all the snow. So it's the same thing. When you manuscript, you have all the data and all the things, but how you are going to write it, it just looks like that. So, but it need not be. You can start early and you can practice. That means at least every day, half a page writing. It doesn't matter whether you are going to medical school or you are going to business school or a professional school, any degree. Writing is very important. Just write a half a page every day. So with the advances in cell phone, we always like to text. And these are like small bits of sentences and no grammatical check. But in a professional world outside, we need to have a professional look for writing. So that's why writing is an important goal. So once you write it, give it to your colleagues, ask them to criticize. Your supervisors are good, your lab mates, and sometimes somebody at home, your uncle, grandfather, or whoever it is, he's a retired person. He would love to read and comment on it, right? So he may not know much of what you have done, but he would love to read it and correct your stuff, and you can learn from that. So if you start on a daily basis writing half a page, something that you read, something that you have done, make that practice. It is going to help you a lot in the long run. So this is another advice I go. So this is like running a marathon. While running a marathon, you don't say, okay, I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow. Same way, you don't say, oh, I'm going to write a paper tomorrow. If you have practiced over last few months, writing the paper becomes a lot easier, same way as you run. So just remember that. And in fact, there is one article in Science came out, and this is a professor report. I noticed a few senior colleagues who published with impressive regularity and always had a paper in the works. When I asked them what the secret was, I found that they prioritized doing small amounts of focused writing every day. I, since their own version of this approach, I call it the 1 hour work week. So again, a piece of suggestion or how to become successful is make it a habit to write on a daily basis. The senior researchers, they always are engaged in writing something or the other. So that's how, like as Bilal mentioned that I never studied English in my elementary school. It came out only in colleges when I studied. But again, the practice helped me so to write these things. Again, if you are writing a paper, this is sort of a general idea. So you have to identify 2 or 3 important findings emerging from experiments, make them a central theme of the article, and make sure that you write this one in your abstract, those 2 findings. Okay? And you have to organize, there is a logical sequence. So it should be like a storytelling. We like to story. And when you go home, people ask your parents, okay, how was your journey? And you don't tell you every possible detail, but major highlights. Okay, I went to the bus station, they're crowded, but I managed to get a seat. I'm just saying the highlights of those things and make it the same way in sciences. You try to highlight the main point and keep that as a focus in discussing those ones. Again, when you are submitting a paper, note the readership of the journal while considering the publish. And it is one of the things in a research publication is the paper gets rejected. So you cannot get discouraged. You have to read the comments and make it is better, because after every reviewing, the paper becomes better. Carry out additional experiments and improve the quality of scientific discussions, etc. And then you can resubmit those papers back again in the same journal or different journal. So it helps you to, again, this is getting from your peers a feedback on how well you did. Again, this is if you are writing, don't try to bring in flowery language unnecessarily. Okay, this is a general thing. In sciences, people often use novel, first sign, one part synthesis, facile, highly efficient, names of flowers, fruits, vegetable, like they will say nano urchin like, like there is no nano urchin like, focus on the property of that material that you made, not on the shape and how it looks. So that's the one. Again, if you are submitting a paper, the title becomes very important. Even when you are writing a project or anything, the title is the major gateway to attract the attention. Whenever you read in the newspaper or any magazine or a thing, why do you read that particular article? It's because of the title. So if you want more readers, the title becomes very important. Uh, Again, you have to identify the significant findings in the abstract. Uh, Figures and schemes, illustration, they should really stand out. Discussion of results, references, and other things. Uh, so again, this is for scientific publications. But remember, when you are composing, make it look like a story, and the title is very important. One of the things I always say is the newspaper. The same event, depending upon the readership, the title changes. Okay, sometime it is a pro-government, sometime it is against government, or sometime it is because they have their own audience, right? So same event is flipped around in a different way. Because they know the readership, so the title becomes a very important in any of the articles or projects that you write. And the shorter the one, it is much effective. If you're writing paper, I suggest you to take a look at this article. It's called Mastering the Art of Scientific Publication. There are 20 editorials and written by different editors. Very good, this one. So you can take a look at it. Otherwise, just Google the Mastering the Art of Scientific Publication and you will get the collection. Okay, so you finish your professional degree, PhD, and you can see here everyone is smiling very nicely. And so after all your hard labor, you got your PhD. And then comes the reality, right? What do you do now? I got my PhD. So this is, if you have just defended your thesis or just finished your degree, what will be my next move? How will I secure the position that I could lead a successful career? So this is in everybody's mind. The excitement of completing a degree, it disappears when you hit the practical reality. And it is not at one place. This is a worldwide. The graduate students I see in India, China, and other places, they work very hard. They are more proud of their papers they publish. But if you have not thought about what to do after your PhD, it becomes little late. You should start thinking, what is your next move during your PhD? And accordingly, you have to develop additional skills. In PhD, research is only a small thing, but the place offers you a lot of opportunity. For example, you can develop a leadership skill. So this is, again, in another article I said, looking beyond the PhD. So this one is, again, see the number of PhD students graduating each year, coupled with the limited number of postdocs or industrial positions, making the competition tougher for new graduates. So good writing skills are an integral part. So what you have to do during your PhD, take a look at this article, it explains a little more, is see what you want to be after a PhD. Well, I want to go to the industry. Okay, fine. Then take a summer off and try to write companies that I want to do a summer internship. And most companies, they would love to have you because that sort of for them is to check you how good you are and whether you can use it. That is a way to do it. If you want to work for a publication industry, again, write to them. I want to do an internship. Get a feel for it, what it is. Build up this one. Leadership qualities. In graduate school, organize conferences. And in this case, some of the students are coming forward in organizing these web events and those kind of things. That poster, I was very impressed with the poster made by the students. So that particular student developed that skill, how to make good graphics. So again, these are the opportunities you have to capture and develop additional skills that can help you to go to the next level. Believe me, anything you learn extra is not a waste. It is just adds to your profile, and then that makes you stand different than 10 other competitors when you develop this skill. So it is very important to stay ahead of the competition and make your choice career early. Uh, there are a lot of choices. If you are doing PhD, you have academic positions, teaching in colleges, teaching and research at major universities, industrial positions, large, mid-scale, and small-scale type industries. You have to see where you fit in. Technical positions like instrument development, uh, those kind of things. Marketing, they need it, people. Scientific writers, that is in big demand right now. Scientific, that's what I'm saying. If you have a good communication skill, you can become a good scientific writer. Uh, there are consulting services. Uh, Most importantly, entrepreneurship. So if you have an idea and you want to put it to practice, that is the best age to do this thing. So please, uh, again, this is I listed only a few. There may be others which is there. So you need to pick what you want to be, and based on that, you need to work during your graduate school or any professional school that you are working to become what you want. Things won't come to you. You have to develop those additional skills to stay in at things. And this is what graduate school can do. Good writing skills, proposal writing. I know these things takes a lot of time and you think it is a waste. Most of the time, sometimes professor says, well, you don't have to worry. You go and do the lab experiments and I will write the paper. No, you have to volunteer. Like, let me give a try and see how I could write. And if you write well, that professor will really like it to do it. And in our lab, everyone writes a first draft of their papers, and then we work around, I comment on it. So this is how, and when they graduate, they become good writers. Again, good communication skills in meetings and other things. You need to know what your audience is. Uh, the virtual conference have opened up a lot of opportunities for young researchers to present their work and get the feedback. Mentorship, again, you can take undergraduates or lower one tutoring, mentorship, leadership. So anything is always a personal statement. So because you never know when somebody asks you. So the personal statement is your background, your how you see the value of your efforts and what you want to do and all those things. Keep it ready because if everyone asks you to give you one. Okay. One of the things is there is a book called Encore, which I liked it, and one of the things they said is everything is like a Gaussian bell curve. There is a majority of the people are in the peak, that is in the average, but there is a tiny small fraction, about 10%, they tail around and stay ahead of everyone. So your goal should be to be in the top 10%. If you are feel comfortable that, well, I am like most of the other people, then you are with those people and you don't stand out. So how to stand out in that crowd? You need to have confidence. You need to have a feeling comfortable with the people around, how to present yourself, how to communicate yourself. Perception. Listen closely to what people are saying and how they are saying. Trust people into judgment and tools. The first few sentences you speak can be very effective and people judge on it. And always watch some of these successful people. They are good listeners. They want to know more from you. So, but don't feel free to ask them the questions and see how they answer. It's very impressive. Authority and speak with confidence. Again, the three S's: stay informed, stay educated, and stay connected. And last but not least, you have to be happy. and you have to think lightly. Okay. And there is an article written by Richard Hamming. This was in 1986. And there is a link here in the bottom. It is an excellent article. It tells you how to be an average person, like not like a gold medalist or a person who has, they're valedictorian and everything. No, you can be a normal person and how to be successful. The reason, again, is like in the previous slide, you have to have a courage, passion, and drive and commitment. To me, this is the most important thing. It doesn't matter whatever the profession is. Once you take up the job, you have to have the drive and commitment. You have to prove yourself that you can do better than other people. And that's when you gain respect and become successful. Another one is discipline. I always say that before COVID, my timings have changed. Otherwise, before COVID, I am the first person to come to the lab, and many times I'm the last person to leave. And I tell people I can come at any time and leave any time, but that is my discipline. Come around 8 o'clock and leave around 6, 7 o'clock. So this is what you have to do, because in graduate school and other places, people don't care. I work in the night. I'm coming at 12 o'clock. Have it. Have a good dress code. Be respectful. So those things. And if you research your clients, sit in different areas, effective communication, and age is a factor. As I said, when you are young, uh, but it is only a relative term. How you feel yourself when you're young. So I'm coming to an end. Another important thing to remember, this is for everything, is an obligation to honor the trust that their colleagues place on them. Any place you do research or work or anything, and again, this is from National Academy Press. These are not my quotes. So you need to honor. You have an obligation to do job to achieve the goal, so that you have got, because you have come from kindergarten all the way to this stage, putting lots of effort. So don't blow it. So this is especially in research, the ethics and plagiarism and all those things comes to play. So your obligation to do it. So to summarize what I've been telling you so far is don't be afraid. You may be coming from different backgrounds. The world is now a level playing field, so you need to compete. You need to learn to compete, and you have to develop the skills that needs to compete. And that golden period that you have, especially like in graduate school, don't just let it go. And same time, communication, both writing and presenting. Academic honesty is very important, and you need to have courage and believing in yourself that you can do it. And so with that, I would like to end my talk. So this is my favorite slide. Don't ever give up. Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Kamat, for such an inspiring talk. I want to thank you on behalf of all the attendees. I cannot unmute them, so I'm going to applaud for you on behalf of all of them. Thank you so much. For questions, please enter, for the attendees, please enter your questions in the Q&A box. Please indicate where you come from and what do you do in life. I'll be reading the questions, and Professor Kamat will be answering these questions. We can do that for the next 10 minutes or so. Is that okay, Professor Kamat?
Sure.
Okay. So I see that you, Durna Disley, I don't know if I said the name correct. She's asking for the name of the book again.
Which one is? Which book?
So hopefully,
The one I referred was Encore, Encore.
okay.
I don't know the author's name.
We
And the
are
other one is on being a scientist.
okay. Apparently, you answered the question. Anybody has any questions? Please enter your questions in the Q&A. Don't be shy, guys. Vijay, where do you come from? Can you write down? So the question is how to face multiple failures in PhD. This is from Vijay Sai Krishna.
Okay. In the last talk by Jim Henstra and also this one, failure is a part of a success. It's not that you should shy away because failures, especially nowadays, since the education system has changed, especially in Asia, we are not allowed to do any mistakes. Everything has to be perfect. So the expectation is that everything will go smooth. In research, uh, it is happens that we try. Even we see it. Like sometimes students we try 1, 2, 3, 4, everything doesn't work. The synthesis just crashes. Uh, so there are two ways to do it. One is it is if it comes in absolutely dead end, then you change the field. You need to change the direction. But you have to give it a try. When you first time when you try, if it doesn't happen, I always look down the window and walking the person going on the street. I said, "What's the difference between that person and you?" Because anybody can say it doesn't work, but have you tried all the different strategies doing it? Sometimes it's thermodynamics or the nature such that it's not going to happen. So in that case, you need a different system. So if you have explored all the possible things, and this is the one, you can do it. And the second thing is sometimes failures or the negative results can also lead you to a new direction. We have published papers with failed experiments, believe me. But we try to find out why it failed. In that process, you may be able to find out some of the things, why something failed and what is the mechanism for it. So again, depending upon how you want to take things. But again, you have to be confident yourself and things will work out.
So Vijay comes from SSSIHL from Bangalore, India. Another question. This is by Vijay Karade. He is a third year graduate student from Korea. He's currently working on solar cell, and he is saying sometimes we have project target like achieving high efficiency, but we know that our material strengths. So how to deal with this kind of task?
Yeah, again, one has to know one's strength, right? So I told you, I'm just giving you my own example. We have worked with quantum dot solar cells when you jump in perovskite solar cells. But we came to about 17, 18% efficiency. And then we realized we don't have that much workforce or capability to get beyond, say, 20%. So now, if I keep on doing solar cell research, I will always be a follower. But there are a lot of other aspects in this one. So we look into the more fundamental aspects. Why does the iodide ions move and not the bromide, or something very similar? How is the excited state look like? So there are a lot of other interesting aspects. So if you are looking research, I'm sure you can also focus on why does the material behave differently than the other one. So you have to change the focus of the investigation when you cannot go with, say, you cannot make a high efficiency cell, and don't talk about efficiencies much in the paper, and focus on things that you think are significant.
Series questions from Durna Jamshidisli. I don't know where she's coming from. How do you manage doing many academic related activities? I assume just being an advisor takes lots of time. What is the career ladder for becoming an editor-in-chief of a journal?
Yeah, again, comes, as I said, in this academic profession, it's always learning, and the work never becomes less. At the one end, you have to talk to your students because they are your main researchers. Even you will talk to my students. Sometimes I enjoy being in the lab too, but the academic thing, the journal thing, it starts with first with the reviewing papers when the journals thank you to review papers, and then you start giving feedback. If you draw the attention of the editors, they might take you as a editorial advisory board. That's how I started first with the advisory board in the physical chemistry. Then I was trying to make some suggestions and reviewing papers. So finally, I became the editor for the general physical chemistry. And then you become with general physical chemistry letters we started. And finally, when they started the ACS Energy Letters, they asked me to take over. So the editor-in-chief and other editors have a slightly different role. So editor-in-chief becomes the journal, especially in the ACS platform. They are setting the tone for the journal. So they sort of, it is just like the parents, they want to see how the kids to grow and be successful, right? So same way you are seeing journal as your tiny baby, and you want to make them grow to be a successful journal. So you bring in a lot of new ideas. So if you see this journal, it stands apart from other journals. And you can see we have a lot of editorial matters, write editorials in every issue. So, okay.
So Durna comes from Auburn University in the United States.
Okay. So again, if you can always call me up, and I'll be happy to discuss more on this one. But again, it's a time management, and we put any academics. You have to put not just 40 hours, probably 60 to 80 hours. And again, we do it not because we have to do it. We do it because it is fun. A change of work becomes a thing. And then once you reach a stage, you don't have much of a family commitment, so you have more time to spare too. So the hard part is for the younger people who have just have a family to take care of it, and especially in the COVID, it is becoming a big problem because they are at home, you are at home working and trying to manage both. So this is a thing, but you learn how to time management, and you want to get it more effectively and efficiently.
Suhan, a chemistry undergraduate student from India. There are many questions coming from India. Can you please share your suggestions on how to go about picking an area for a PhD? What are the factors to consider apart from passion alone?
Again, as I said in one of the early first slides, where is it? Okay. This one is importance of selecting a topic. Like first of all, you have to see what your strengths are, right? So what you want to do. Do you want to do a solar cell research? If you are an engineer and make some kind of a devices, or if you are a science, you want to be an organic chemist, physical chemist, analytical chemist. First, you have to decide which field you want to be in. And then in that field, you try to see what attracts you. Read some scientific papers. It is something you can do, you can handle. Like if you're an organic chemist, probably there are more frustrations because you may be doing a 5-step synthesis and to learn that it didn't work out. So there are more frustrations. For physical chemists, you are measuring some properties, so you always get some data. It may be having some kind of a consolation. Same thing with analytical chemistry. So You may be interested in computation. So again, it depends upon you have to frame your interest. And once you narrow it down, then you have to go and do some literature survey and see what are the scientific issues that needs to be addressed. If there is an emerging field, there are more things to do. But the established fields like electrochemistry looks old, the batteries look old, but there is a lot of interest in the batteries, how to make it better. So, but it is a crowded field and you need to stay in and compete.
So this question is from Professor Brigitte Vax from the Lebanese American University. She happens to be my wife. Thank you for sharing your experience, how to prepare for a successful career. A follow-up question is then how to prepare for and navigate the challenges of a major shift in mid-career.
Yeah, so again, this is probably the most tough question. And people do change. And probably I'm the wrong person. It's because I didn't change in my career, not even the place. I was just here. But again, one of the things you need to remember is the competition. How your present experience of the present can be used as a strength in the different profession. For example, I will tell you, we had an assistant professor in after 5-6 years. He said academic is not that rewarding as it is, and he became a computer modeler and is doing simulation for a company. He joined a company because that's how he liked to do. But whatever he had that experience of here, the theoretical chemist of computation, he took it and went doing that. The same way, people with computation skills have gone to Wall Street or financial companies and becomes very successful. A lot of people sometimes from industries, they decide that, well, industries is not for me and I want to be a academician. So they move into the academy. So it is possible to change it. My only suggestion is know your strengths and see how you can capitalize on it in your next career move.
Ahmad Ayub from Lebanon. What if a person does not have an answer to what she will do after getting the PhD? Do you recommend that she goes for it?
I'm not saying you have to have it in the beginning, but at least during the course of your PhD, you should start thinking what I will be doing. Because if you are an organic chemist, maybe you want to work in a company, or there are a lot of different opportunities. And my only suggestion in this talk was develop those additional skills to achieve the goal that you want to do. If you have no idea what to do at the end of your PhD, you are in a very difficult spot because you don't know still what you do. So at least during your PhD, keep at least 2 or 3 options open. Okay, if I get this one, if I don't get an academic job, I will do this one. I will go to a company or I will go to a consulting company. So have some options open and develop the skills that you need to get to that next job thing. So that was my content is, it's okay not to have in the beginning, but at least during the course, you need to develop that skills and what you want to do.
Zena Al-Khalil, biology undergraduate student. Zena, by the way, has been tweeting about the event throughout your talk. Okay. The question is, how do you avoid burnout, especially during today's times?
Yeah, this is one of the major thing. I think Professor Himsta also talked about it, is the competition is so much. It also bothers me. There is no end to this, looks like, because everyone wants to outsmart somebody else. But as I said before, know your strengths. Like sometime, I will tell you in the academics how people get burned out, right? So I see people having 40 students, 60 students when I go to China, for example, right? With large groups. And even within that group, they compete with each other because if I do something good, uh, my professor gets attention. So they set the time. So there is a burnout is within the groups. It also happens in the Western countries, in the US. There are large groups. Uh, the people are struggling, and sometimes some people who cannot cope up with. So that is one of the things I always tell graduate student is, uh, you will get the attention from me. So that is sort of a little broader thing to show you how you burn out. But how to avoid is don't listen to your uh, uh, colleagues or peers who try to pressure you. Okay, that is the most thing because somebody will come and say, oh, I published a paper in Nature or I published paper in Science. Like what are you doing? Like a kind of a thing. Don't get sucked into it. Just because you are a 10th author in a Nature paper, you didn't do anything, believe me. You want to be your first author in a good small journal, it's okay, but that's your work. So again, you have to feel good about what you are doing. Don't let you burn out because the competition is tough. Try to develop skills what other people may not have and keep that. Like for example, you are right now. He said he's tweeting, right? So that social media is very important. How you get things. So make that as a positive point, as one of your skills, how to reach out to the people and communicate effectively in a modern world. So you have to turn it around and give it a good spin and feel good about yourself and see what you can do the best.
Ram Murthy from Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. His question, how does one strike a balance between research and academics? You tend to lose some of the basic concepts when you are too much into research.
I sort of disagree with it because research also involves learning. So you are constantly learning. As I said before, sometimes we don't know. That makes us go back and look into the textbooks or some other discussion with the colleagues, uh, trying to understand why some things happen the way it happens. So the research is allows you to continue your education process. So you have to take it as main thing. So another thing happens is when you're doing both teaching and research in some places, there is more emphasis on research and less emphasis on teaching. So which makes it people don't take much interest in teaching. But in good institutions, like for example in Notre Dame, all faculties, all professors teach undergraduate classes. And the reason is because the students are paying fees, and in any tenure and promotions, teaching is given equal importance because the if you are not excellent teacher, if you are excellent researcher but a lousy teacher, you will not get tenure here. The balance between both teaching and research is very important in places like Notre Dame.
The next question is a research question. It's coming from Sajid Saikia. Already perovskite solar cell has reached its maximum efficiency with adequate stability. What do you think? How long it will take to replace silicon solar cell in daily life use?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we started with perovskite solar cells, and when we couldn't go beyond 20, we sort of stopped making it. But we went to the fundamental aspects, learning how things happen. Again, the efficiency is only one parameter, and people are trying to put now tandem solar cells, especially silicon and perovskite solar cells have shown higher efficiency than both individually. So there is a hope that you can go beyond 30% these tandem solar cells. But having said that, the major problem with perovskite is the stability. it doesn't have a silicon stability. So there is a lot of research going on right now how to make it stable, long performing thing. So unless you address that issue, that at least coming close to silicon stability, the perovskite solar cell will not be able to compete. But it may be as a tandem solar cell, maybe.
Sorry, we kept you for a long time. Two more questions, I promise.
Sure.
Jennifer Najam, a chemical engineering undergraduate student at AUB. What are some time management tactics in order to study effectively and efficiently, especially during the online educational environment?
Okay, there was two strong points here. One is time management, and second one is the online thing. So both combined together makes it a little more complicated. Let me go first and issue individually. So time management, like one of the things is most of the younger folks like to sleep in the morning but stay late to capture the work. Uh, uh, but your mind is more fresh in the morning. For example, like if I get up at 6 o'clock early on, I saw Bilal coming to the lab at 4 o'clock in the morning. Uh, so if you come at 6 o'clock, at least get up, you get solid 2 hours, and you will see that's much more productive than late night 2 hours. I can guarantee you that. So that is the one thing. You have to divide the day into different sections, what you can do. Like a lot of people, just to give an example, doing most productive thing early in the morning. Then during the day, when the disruptions are there, then you go to the attending emails and those kind of a thing, because people may be walking in and asking you questions because you cannot do any serious things. But in the evening after dinner also, you can spend some time reading a paper or writing something. So you have to divide the day or the week based on things. A lot of people make a list of things that in a short form, in a bullet items, what to do during the day, and then try to accomplish it. For me, I try to set a weekly goal, and okay, this week I want to achieve these things, and most of the time I cannot complete everything. But that sort of puts me in a backlog, so I try to catch up during the weekend or the next week, and try to reduce some of the goals for the next week doing it. The second aspect is the online. The online has changed the dynamics very much. In some sense, it is very good. Some sense it is not. For example, the good part is you don't have to travel. For example, if you have to go for a seminar talk, you travel one day, you spend the entire day in the campus. That is a productive thing. But next day you travel. Your travel days are almost waste. Although you can catch up some reading and working, but not all. But now, for example, if I have to come and give in talk in Beirut, uh, then I would have spent at least 3 days in traveling and things. But I would have very much enjoyed being in the company and learn more from you guys. That is a disadvantage, not doing. So now I have an extra 3 days, I can work on something else. So that way it helps in the online learning. But teaching in, for example, is extremely hard, especially in chemistry. When you have to draw a structure, you can draw on a iPad or something and show the structure, but it's not the same thing as going to a blackboard and doing this thing. So it is harder, the online teaching. So again, balancing between the time management, and then you have to prepare for the online. Because in teaching, you can take a piece of paper, go on the board, and you can interact with the students more effectively. Here in a Zoom meeting, you can ask a question, everybody will go away very quickly. So that is another part of it. So I suggest you to, again, there is no win-win situation. We have to make the best out of it.
So this is Rajesh Gautam from University of Hyderabad in India. How to keep patience yourself? How to keep patience ourselves if work is not getting well in PhD? So if somebody is suffering with his PhD,
that was that was a similar question was earlier was the failures, like repeated failures, how you can avoid. Same thing, the frustrations and failures are part of any project, but people learn from the mistakes, and that's when you do, when one of the, I will tell you a common failure in the lab. You try to repeat somebody's synthesis that is published synthesis, and it doesn't work. Now the question could be two things. Either you are doing something wrong, or the guy who reported didn't report everything. And in that case, you write to that person. I tried your, and we do it all the time when you do it. And that guy says, oh, well, you have to dry these samples, which I didn't say it. You have to get this impurity effect can cause those things. So you have to be finding out the cause of the failure and can it be rectified. And if it is a repeated thing you cannot rectify, you have to take a different approach. And but you have to give it a try. You cannot just say trying 2 times didn't work. There may be a reason why it didn't work and why it goes to a failure. So that is where your advisor can help or your colleagues can help. So listen to those steps or that might lead to failures. And as I said again earlier in the talk, if it is really a failure, you try to identify why it failed, and you may be able to write a paper.
So this question is from Karina Pareja Rivera. I don't know where she's coming from. She's thanking you for the talk. My question is is it the number of papers or the impact factor that is more important? When you hire a postdoc, that is the most relevant thing you are looking for to accept in your group.
Neither of the two. Neither the number or the impact factor matters. Number one is what is your contribution in a paper? As I said, if you are a 10th paper author in a 15 author paper, to me, you didn't do anything, believe me. You may be having 40 papers, nothing. And typically, if you are looking for a postdoc, what you need is a 4 or 5 good papers. Good papers in the sense they are scientifically sound, that can stand out. It doesn't matter as long as in the main discipline journal, like for example, if you're a physical chemist, Journal of Physical Chemistry or a Chemical Physics is a highly regarded. If you're an organic chemist, Journal of Organic Chemistry is a good journal. Or analytical chemistry. So you don't have to have these high impact journals. These are reasonable journals respected within the discipline, and your goal should be to be the first author. When I look at it, I don't count the number of papers. I have hired postdocs with 1 paper because the advisor said this is all work done by that person, and whatever that work is done stands. So that is where the comes. And there is a misleading thing saying that you have to have X number of papers for getting. No, there is no fixed number. So in fact, if you have more papers, to me it is a negative thing because you are just crunching numbers and not, you don't know. Because beyond 4 or 5 papers, probably you will not be able to go in depth to study and mechanism. So my suggestion is to have solid 4 paper as first author. That should be more than good enough.
There are many other questions, but we don't want to keep you any longer. Once again, I want to thank Professor Kamat for this very inspiring and beautiful mentoring talk. And I look forward to host you here in our beautiful AUB campus in Lebanon in October 2022. We were supposed to host you this week for the Makhlouf Haddadin Symposium, but we postponed it till 2020. So I look forward to having you with us 2 years from now. And With that, I thank all the attendees. I thank particularly my team, the Transformative Education team at AUB. And I thank you once again, Professor Kamat. Thank you so much. And it has been a pleasure to have you with us here. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity to interact and talk. And I'm looking forward to the visit in 2022. Okay. Thank you very much.
Same here. Thank you.
Yeah.